All this time about wasting paper at a paper company, and we've never seen a paper airplane bit in the entire show. So we'll see what happens.
Crossing through, beep, beep. No! Ow!
My heart soars with the eagle's nest.
Hey everybody, I'm Chris, and I'm reviewing every episode of The Office, and today we are looking at the paper airplane episode.
And cut! We can fix the sound in post. Yeah.
I understand nothing.
Most of Paper Airplane's plotlines center around a special project being put on by Nellie in the warehouse, which is set up nicely in the cold opening.
Yesterday was the first round of a branch-wide paper airplane contest.
We are now down to an elite 8. Well, 7 and Toby.
By this point in the series, a cold opening tied to the story usually signals that this is going to be a pretty plot-heavy episode of The Office. And I don't actually care to fact-check that, but if you're binging the Season 9 videos and you can confirm if that's true or not, leave it in the comments. Love to know if I was right there when I was offhandedly writing this statement. Paper Airplane is no exception to that maybe rule. The drama kicks in when the stakes are raised for this contest only after the event begins, which is giving me some community paintball vibes.
Here's the prize. $100,000 cash.
Sounds like somebody wants to walk away with this.
Oh my God! Oh, Nellie, you didn't tell us we could win money.
Well, the airplane contest ramps up with Aaron way overdoing it.
Eat it, piggy! Eat it! Oink, 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 oink.
We still gotta work together, so we should keep it civil.
Angela's surface level everything's fine is clearly not matching reality.
Times are leaner now that I'm separated from the senator, but my new studio apartment is just fine for me and Philip.
Much has been said about the weirdness that is Angela's sudden financial hardships, so allow me to say more. She is the lead accountant for a pretty decent-sized paper distributor. I don't know what her salary is, but it was nice enough to afford this place while she was living on her own before she was married. But beyond that, I think the part that doesn't get talked about a lot is that it's kind of weird that the senator just threw her out with no plan. Also threw out his baby. Like, just done. And that's because if a state senator dumped his wife on local or national television, announcing that he was gay and that this is now his new love interest, straight to the top. Straight to the top of the interview circuits on local and national television. Now, I don't know how much you get paid to do a gig like that, but I am in the market if anybody's watching. But Angela and the senator would be making headlines all over the place, and she could be making bank, like selling the rights to her story for what would eventually become a Hallmark movie called The Back Door of the Senate. Oh. Leave your comments for a better Hallmark movie name for the Angela state senator story.
Over 1 billion sold.
And I think along with all of that, then Angela would be, as a conservative person that she has been this entire time, would be playing off of the fears of, I guess, what is now the age-old trope of, you know, like what happens when you marry a state senator who happens to be gay and you and your husband commit multiple affairs throughout your marriage, but he then goes on national television to tell everybody that he's gay.
I am gay.
And then kicks you out along with your son and your 7 cats, kicks you out of the house. The gay agenda is getting really specific these days. I can't keep up.
Gay, good.
The point is, all of this drama feels like drama for drama's sake. Alimony, family to bunk in, temporary like bunking with friends or people from your church, or really there's a ton of things that could have happened here. I actually would have just settled for one single line that just said that she refused any help from the senator, like what we will see later in this episode.
I don't need pity, and I don't need charity.
It almost leads me to believe that a line like that did exist, but it was just cut for time. Because the truth is, someone as crafty with money as Angela should be able to land on her feet. like a cat. All of this coincides with the airplane games, as Angela's now got a good reason for desiring the prize money. And meanwhile, Andy is seeking his own prize by getting his first acting gig on a corporate training video. And it's not technically my full-time job, but I'm a blend of these two guys during my day job.
What's the holdup here?
The actor's crying.
The gig is going well until Andy, who has a very well-established fear of things going into his eyes, dating all the way back to earlier this episode.
I'm so freaked out by things going into eyes. I can't even. I'm so freaked out by that. Just go.
Well, now he needs to do the eye wash station, which has him completely stalled out. Meanwhile, Jim and Pam are putting their counseling homework into practice throughout this day, which is a mix of what I think I hit on in the Staremageddon field guide, so good job, me. The prescription from the counselor was practice empathy, thoughtfulness, and express yourself.
I would appreciate the sacrifice of including me in some hits off your kind buds.
We're not high.
This all starts well, awkward as it may be, but it goes off the rails as soon as any real conflict shows up.
Hey, wait.
To speak my truth, I'd appreciate if you hung that up because we were in the middle of a conversation.
But those are our three stories. Jim and Pam looking to get things back on track for them, Andy wetting his eyeballs to demonstrate his acting commitment, and Angela's pursuit of winning, all intermixed with the fact that Dwight and Esther are involved in the paper airplane contest too.
It might just be a little bit of feather, and your nuggets are just a little bit of meat inside of your pillow.
Now, the contest plays out, interestingly enough.
You know what? This is completely unnecessary. You already won.
Aaron.
Just stop.
Aaron.
I'm gonna keep making planes until one of them flies, like Wilbur and Orville Redenbacher.
Aaron loses her cool, which kind of reminds me of how competitive my wife is.
Sorry, I'm mad!
It's a joke.
There are certain topics that are off limits to comedians.
But also maybe loses Pete in the process. Do we ever pick up this Aaron and Pete plotline? I guess they are dancing together in the Jump to the Future, which I don't want to expose if for some reason someone's not like, are we past spoilers at this point? Do I need to give people spoiler warnings?
Warning! Warning! Warning!
Anyway, I think they're dancing in the wedding that happens in a few episodes. So I guess they maybe stay together. What's your thoughts on that? Dwight's proficiency with these airplanes is quite impressive to me. I often say things like, it's not an exact science, but like this is literally, this is physics. This is science. So kudos to him. He seems very good at this. But he ends up attempting to lose to Angela to pity give her the money.
Oh, man, it slipped out of my hand. What a whiff.
To which she musters as much dignity as she can to appear not weak. Which I think has more to do with the choice that she made here.
I made a vow. I gave my word.
Stand by your man. That's what I would want if you were mine.
And you know, she was married at the time. This feels like the integratable decision. Integratable is not a word, but I'm trying to make it one. And then admittedly, for me at least, this plotline doesn't resolve in a very weighty way, in my opinion. She loses, like she quits, and then she storms off to collect toilet paper. The shock and awe of the episode is reserved for Andy's resolution.
Kid can act.
It gets me every time. But the really dramatic climax of this episode follows Jim trying to make things right after the passive-aggressive fight that they just experienced moments before. But then, you know, like he's about to leave to go out of town, and Pam's not really there for any of the reconciliation.
My heart just feels so blocked up.
And they miss each other's gaze as Jim is leaving, and then we're led to believe that maybe a slow fade to black might occur until Pam sees that Jim left his umbrella, prompting her to go chase him down from like getting into, again, the only taxi that Scranton has. And then with a little back and forth that I'll get into in the deeper meaning, the dam of contention finally breaks between the two of these people as they embrace each other, and clips of the wedding play in Pam's mind.
And now these three remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love.
Which for sure leads us to the deeper meaning.
What does a bean mean?
Someone please explain it to Cat.
The titular paper airplane serves as a fitting metaphor for the delicate balance required to navigate relationships, careers, and personal values. That is what we call a thesis statement. I write sometimes. Much like constructing a successful paper airplane, achieving success or happiness in life requires some precise conditions: the right fold, the right throw, and the right direction. Countless other variables all have to work together. Like I was saying, it's like literally physics, each seemingly small, but all having the power to drastically change the outcome. This episode explores how the flimsiness of a paper airplane, with its potential to reach far and high, parallels the fragile nature of our choices and the outcomes that they bring. Take Angela's decision to turn down Dwight's offer to throw the paper airplane contest, itself a situational pun. On the surface, it's easy for Angela to gain a win here because she needs the money. But she rejects Dwight's charity, instead choosing for herself some dignity. And that's somewhat understandable. Angela's life has been tossed around by some variables in and outside of her control. And a crumbling marriage, public shame that probably would be happening here, and the apparent dwindling finances all of a sudden. The decision to compete fairly despite the risk of failure probably represents some attempt to control her own destiny. As if Angela knows that accepting Dwight's help here would be like folding a paper airplane with all of the ingenuity that Kevin could deliver. It might get off the ground, but it cannot soar. And reading that in the context of the love story of these two makes this whole thing a little bit more meaningful, although it is pretty abstract. But it gets a little clearer when you look at Andy's storyline, which involves his pursuit of a dream. Obvious to everyone else that this is ridiculous, and yet to him, it all really means something. And his small victory that day represents kind of this triumphal moment for the character. Like, watch it with some epic music behind it.
I can do a better one.
That's fine, we'll move on.
I said I can do a better one.
And with the small victory of that day representing the triumphal moment for this character, maybe he represents that moment the airplane is released from your hands, with nothing but hope guiding its path. That despite the makeshift construction or a shaky throw, maybe, just maybe, it can glide magnificently through life. If but for a moment. And then we come to Jim and Pam, the real emotional core of this episode, and what I think the whole motif is playing towards, where the stakes are more than $2,000 and an off-Broadway pipe dream. The tension between these two have been building all season, leaving their relationship feeling like a paper airplane that used to be in perfect condition, and then flattened and folded way too many times. It's worn and fragile, and on the verge of tearing apart with every single throw. They just seem to be drifting further apart. Their big moment comes on the heels of Pam saying that her heart is blocked up, which this is a moment. That feeling that I can relate to, and I'm assuming some of you can as well, where you've gotten used to just internalizing your thoughts and your fears, and even internalizing that lack of control that you feel in your life. Like, these kind of blockages happen. And with the two of them on the verge of yet another unsettled goodbye, we as the audience are left on wondering how many of these goodbyes they have left, both feeling the effects of the drag and barely staying aloft. Pam chases down Jim, maybe, in my opinion, possibly trying to trigger some sense of resolution, which I might be reading more into it, but she's not quite ready to clear the blockage yet. But then Jim lays it out there, and he embraces her and holds her tight and awkwardly, and Pam seems to be initially confused and then resistant to what's happening, until those memories of the wedding day and probably the rest of those emotions and feeling that she's watched on this documentary over the last few episodes that we've seen. And all of that floods her mind, and they, while embracing each other, are finally able to align again. And they seem to finally connect once again, maybe finally finding a new path to try to fly together. Because like in life, sometimes we crash, sometimes we soar, sometimes we give up, and sometimes we go out fighting. And sometimes you just get an awkward bear hug from your significant other that breaks your blockages. Because at the end of the day, life is a lot like a piece of paper, which does remind me of the wise words of a long gone voice. It starts with an idea, but you can never tell where the idea will end, because ideas spread. They change, grow, they connect us to the world, and in a fast-moving world where good news moves at the speed of time and bad news isn't always what it seems. Because when push comes to shove, we deserve a second chance to score. Feels good. Feels good. With that, let's rate this thing.
This is the worst.
Okay, so cold opening. This is fine. Like nothing to write home to mom about, but it's just the episode cut up for a cold opening. So I don't even like to rate these because I don't feel like that was what the original script called for, probably. I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5.
Well, 7 and Toby.
As for the episode itself, written by series veterans Sullivan and Lieberstein, who I actually thought were not working on the show anymore, it's literally been one of my favorite episodes to analyze for quite some time. I probably, between this and the previous episode,
It's Steermageddon.
the way they pull together these themes for the episode in order to demonstrate all of this as a progress point for Jim and Pam is so well crafted. In the last several episodes, I've had something or a plot line that I just straight up hated. And while I don't love the early jam drama because it's hard to watch, this resolution is just so weighty. It hits me on a couple different levels because, like, the season-wide arc that I hate very much, and I have been talking about at this point for the bulk of this entire year, and you've been listening to me. Thank you so much for following me. Join my Patreon. It's easy, on one hand, to just feel this sense of relief that the worst is behind us. But I also think that that is undercutting the value of this moment. Because while I hated almost all of this, this hug is one of the single most impactful moments on the show for me. Sometimes life is so difficult and I don't have the words or the emotions or any other tool in my bag to remedy a situation. And the amount of times that I've screamed at my monitor that these two are acting like idiots, this moment breaks all of that. And it is meaningful and it is good. And I love it.
I love you.
But I never really can separate out how much I think that this is a well-constructed reuniting for the two of them away from my utter relief that this arc is done. Is it good because this is a touching story moment? Or is it good because it represents that we could just all move on with our life from this terrible idea? Either way, it's good, I guess. Now, the idea to recreate 2013 of this wedding to replay in Pam's mind, I don't know why they did that, but it is a nice touch. And also, when I watch this, I also wonder if, Paul, the ancient Syrian who wrote the letter to Corinth, how he would feel about his letter being used 2,000 years later for one of the most climactic moments of a comedy show. It's interesting. These are things that I was thinking as I was watching that moment. I do enjoy this moment with Andy. Like I said, I always giggle. The contest is fine. I enjoy the contest stuff. I think it's a nice framework for keeping the episode flowing. But there's still this element to the paper airplane episode that screams like the subject matter. It's just like this is a flyby episode. It's also the last 22-minute episode that we will be covering in this particular series. Which, yeah, that's interesting. Paper Airplane is like the salad before a main course. The real meat is the end game of The Office that's yet to come in the next 3 hour-long episodes. All up, though, I think I really enjoyed this. Like, it gave me some feels, I laughed a bunch, and, you know, for all of that, Paper Airplane's gonna get a 4 out of 5 for me.
Yeah! Yeah!
But that's just what I think about Paper Airplane. Leave your thoughts in the comments and let me know what you have to say. Also, I asked like 5 times to leave stuff in the comments. Do all that too. I'm going to take a moment to thank all the channel supporters, which include this growing list of fine folks, which we'll call out some by name, starting with the Dundies host, Amber Piercy, Anna, Dark Lasagna, and our Inner Circle members, Avery, Heidi in the Una, Valerie, Jackie Estes, Mooch, Yesher, and Native Penguin. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. If you like what I'm doing here and you want to support us moving forward and beyond The Office, you can support financially. That just keeps my editors fed, which is great. They love that. But if you don't feel like doing that, I don't care. You can just like this video and move on with your life, and that really helps. So if you haven't subscribed, you should subscribe, and you can join us next week as we cover Living the Dream. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.